In this episode of Different Routes Radio, we are joined by Darren Jobling, the co-founder and CEO of Zerolight, a leader in digital innovation. We discuss how Zerolight started from an out-of-the-blue phone call with IBM, the future of automotives, including flying taxis from the Jetsons, and other interesting things he has seen at events in Las Vegas. As we virtually transport you into the future, smash a like, subscribe, and share buttons. Yo DJ, cue the intro.
Thank you very much for tuning into Different Routes Radio. We're joined by the innovator, Darren Jobling, who is the co-founder and CEO of Zerolight as of 2014. Darren is a multiple award winner in the sense of that he's been named one of the most ambitious business leaders in the top 50, named by Lawyers Development Capital, so LDC. And now Zerolight being a cloud-based 3D visualization company that specializes in automotive industry with helping with the marketing and with sales. And you guys have worked with OEMs such as Audi, VW, Lamborghini, Lucid. I'm hearing some very sexy things happening in that market. So it sounds as if you guys really are game changer, key players to know in the market. So thank you very much for having us interview you today.
Yeah, no, it's very nice to be here.
So you're our first video game entrepreneur, essentially. So everyone who said to their kids, you can't play video games, you won't make anything, you've actually turned that into a very profitable, very successful business.
Yeah, so I got involved in the video games industry when I first graduated. And my younger brother, Brian, had actually started programming games in his bedroom when he was 14 years of age. And he developed a system to protect games from piracy. And for protecting games from piracy, he earned 2 pence per cassette sold. In those days, sold cassettes. And within 12 months, at the age of 14, he was earning more money than my father, who was a director of Royal Ordnance, which was a huge, eventually got acquired by British Aerospace. So literally from 2 pence per cassette, we began to understand the power of the games industry and what you can do if you get millions of consumers engaged in what you've got going on.
So I guess you kind of tapped into that business standpoint of, you know, what it takes to be able to reap your own 2 cents or 2 pennies from every single game that's being sold out there. And it's a multi-billion-dollar industry right now, right? And we've had Sony come out with the new PS5, you know, and I'm pretty sure close to 20% of their games are audio-visual, or not audio-visual, they're racing games. So
yeah.
From you guys to take it part of that kind of market, impressive. And then leverage that from Game Horizon to Zerolight today. So what motivated you to transition from, you know, making video games into 2D and 3D online vehicle configurators?
Yes, so we've been in the games industry for sort of 20 years. And we built up our first company when we were in our 20s and sold it. So we sold it to an American company, then we bought it back. And then it was in 2012. And what happened in 2012, the graphical quality from a computer game reached a minimum level that was acceptable to the car manufacturers. And that sort of opened the door for us. And literally one afternoon, IBM phoned us up. And then what had happened is they'd sold Jaguar Land Rover. It was the launch of the Jaguar F-Type. And it sold them this idea of a digital configurator where the customer can see the car they were going to buy, that they're going to spec up and buy, and they could see it life size on a huge video wall. So we did that first project, and then from there, Audi, who are obviously known as the biggest digital innovators in the automotive industry saw that technology and said, yeah, this is perfect for what we're trying to achieve. And we became the official visualization provider for Audi. Our incubator that was inside the game company spun out and became its own entity in 2014. And the rest is history. You know, we've just grown, went from strength to strength, deal with a lot of the world's biggest car manufacturers, and have 140 people all the way around the world.
So all the way from UK and Chengdu, China, right? So the fact that you've got men and women working for you across the world is pretty impressive. So how big is your workforce right now?
Yeah, so it's currently 140 people. As you mentioned, we have Chengdu in China, sales offices in the US, also sales offices in Germany. We're looking to expand further into Asia this year to build on some customers that we've acquired out there. So it's 140 people, and it's very unusual that we're a technology company in an area that's normally dominated by agencies. The stuff that was traditionally done manually by an agency as a silo can now be done automated with software and have a connected customer journey between all the different parts of, from advertising to online configurators where you pick the configuration of your vehicle, to dealerships, and then after sales as well.
So you guys are kind of like disruptors in the industry, because people can now, with your virtual reality car visualization, you can actually see the car before you buy it. How does this change the whole shopping experience for the customer? Because I love cars, and I'm trying to get a new Mercedes, but it's just every time you look for a car, it's a pain. You go to Autotrader and you always think, what's it like? And I wanted to get an Audi A3 before I got all the way there. I sat in it and my head was hitting the ceiling. So how would this make it easier for people if you have a virtual reality? How does it change the shopping experience?
Whenever you go into a car dealer, if you're going to buy a new car, they say, hey, your car is like that car over there. That car's black and you want to have silver. That's got a dark interior. You want a light interior. Yeah. So though there's one representation of the car, you can never see the car you're going to buy if you're going to order it to your spec. So what Zerolight does, it doesn't replace the need for a car in the showroom or for somebody to take a test drive or all that other good stuff. What Zerolight does is actually allow you to see and explore the car you're going to buy in the future.
And to me, it's so funny that you say this, because I have it on pretty good authority that they make some very high definition and very realistic visualizations of these cars. So in preparation of today's episode, I procured one of these bad boys, virtual headset. So you've not seen virtual reality cars, right? Or not explored? No. All right. So I actually have from Zerolight's team, they sent me an image of one of their models that they've done. So they've done some for Audi, and I'm going to place it in here. And to me, first time explorer, you're going to see how good or how amazing their work is. So
do I get to keep it?
Of course not. It's mine to keep. All right. So as you try that out, you tell us what you see. So you can adjust the knobs on the left and right to make it closer and further.
No way.
So for those that are not in Tamain's head right now, he's actually got a VR headset, and we just plugged him in with my phone onto the Audi A3.
Are we in Chicago?
Is that so? Yes. So is it you guys have different environments that you guys are able to replicate? So you have, what are these environments?
Yeah, so what's actually happening is we're transporting you with virtual reality. You lose sense with the world around you, and you actually get transported into a make-believe world where you can see the car in your configuration. You can sit inside, sit in the seats, walk around the car if you wanted to, and look at every single detail. So virtual reality is a key part of what we do with Lucid and the Lucid Studios. You can now go in and look at the new Lucid Air car, and actually sit in a model of the Lucid Air car, but the actual car that you see obviously on the screen is the car that you're going to buy in your configuration. So it's virtual reality is obviously, it's a bit of an edge use case. It's very cool, but it's on the edge. And then the way more mass market is augmented reality, which is obviously the stuff that you see on your phones. So this is where you can say if you're interested in this Mercedes and it's maybe in Leeds or something like that, the dealer can send you a Mercedes to your mobile phone, and you can have a look at it on your drive and see what it looks like. So you don't actually have to see the physical car. You can just walk around it on your drive.
So to me, from what you've seen now, how is that experience?
So first of all, I left Manchester and I went to Chicago. I'm pretty sure that was Chicago, because I've been to Chicago and it looked like
it is.
The Trump Towers I saw, and I stayed in a hotel near there. So that was cool. So first I looked at the surroundings, but the car, Audi, red, beautiful, and the details, the clarity. So I think it's really cool, because anytime, like you said, when I've bought cars in the past, I've always wanted it in dark gray, tannerite gray, they call it. And they said, we have to order that for you. And then you don't really get to see the interior and you don't get to see the colors, and you have to you get what you're given, really. So this would be quite a nice way to visualize it without having to wait, especially on the driveway. The environment is cool.
And I think for the car manufacturers, if you can understand what you're going to buy, you're more likely to add it to your basket and buy it. Exactly. So if you can see it and grasp why it's important, you're way more likely to spend more money on it.
100. And so that was the exterior. I had the interior. I'll show you the interior. And, I'm pretty sure the moment you feel like you're sitting in the car, you feel like that car is yours, right? So that's what adds to it. And Zerolight does it as very high quality, right?
And
it's
very emotive. You feel like you're actually there, and so now I have the memory of that car in my head, like I actually was there. So it's really powerful.
And you think, because COVID, yes, we can't not talk about it, is that people are more hesitant to go into dealerships now. So there must be a way for dealerships to connect with the customers either online or through these VR experiences. And I'm imagining something like that has actually helped Zerolight. So how has COVID really changed the name of the game, or helped Zerolight in terms of business?
Yeah, so I think there's no doubt about it. COVID's been a worldwide global tragedy. And obviously it's affected severely the automotive industry for obvious reasons, dealerships not being open, et cetera, et cetera. However, all COVID is it's an accelerant. So things like home working were going to happen anyway. They've just been accelerated by COVID. Move towards online purchasing of cars has just been accelerated by COVID. So there's definitely, in terms of automotive, what's happened is, although it's been difficult for the industry as a whole, however, the industry is moving way more in our direction. So going more digital and allowing consumers to have access to the car, however they want to do it, whenever they want to do it.
So it's an opportunity like that is quite disruptive, and that for Zerolight to be able to have tapped into that market before COVID even happened, that means that there's a lot of future thinking was already applied, and you guys were ahead of the game.
Yeah, so I think, as I said earlier, a game is just an engaging customer experience. So less than 1% of people say they enjoy the new car buying experience. Intimidating. It's very polarizing in terms of age and sex. So what we said is, hey, any car is a big purchase. Any car is a big purchase. So really, why shouldn't you have the 5-star treatment when you're buying a car? If we were to walk into a jeweler's this afternoon and say, hey, we're going to spend £10,000 on a piece of jewelry, we would be given the 5-star treatment. So why, when you go into a dealer and you want to spend 10 grand on a car, why don't you have that 5-star experience? It's a lot of money in anybody's book.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, you guys, I understand you're market leaders, you're world leaders in virtual reality cars. But I also understand that 100% of all of your revenue or your clients are overseas. You don't have any in the UK?
Big old world out there. And on something like automotive, obviously they sell them the world over. And it's often, what I've often said, it's easier to sell to a Chinaman than a Cockney. So in actual fact, it's not a deliberate strategy. It's just literally my background. When I left uni, I went to work for Air Products in London, industrial gas manufacturers, and doing fundamentally European sales and marketing. And my younger brother, who had the game company, he had a #1 best-selling game. So it was Kenny Dalglish, Soccer Manager, that was #1 across the whole of the UK.
I know the game.
And I said, well, it was the first icon-driven soccer management game, so it was huge. And I said, it's amazing that it's #1 in the UK. How is it doing in the rest of the world? He was like, oh, I don't sell it in the rest of the world. So that's when I joined the game company. And literally in a period of 2 years, when I joined, it was 90% UK, 10% export. And within 2 years, we'd converted to 80% export and 20% UK. So that wasn't by diminishing the UK, it was keeping the UK where it was and just adding all this additional business. So it's a big world out there. Entrepreneurs often don't think big enough in terms of where they can sell their products. And the UK is generally, it's quite a problematic market compared to the rest of the world.
I mean, because I just thought it was quite surprising, because especially being based in Newcastle, you could see a company in London, for example, selling externally and not in the UK. But I thought, did you start by selling internationally or just in the UK? But as most entrepreneurs, you started locally and then branched out. But do you not feel like you should have a hold in the UK market, or you how do you find it just working specifically solely overseas?
Yes, so definitely. I personally like dealing with people in different cultures, and I've done business in most of the places all over the world. So it's amazing when people say, "Oh, wow, you sell things in China." You know, China's a fast-moving, go-get-'em sort of market. Mm-hmm. So UK maybe has got a little bit comfortable over the years. Whereas the people that are trying new things and doing the exciting things are places not necessarily in the UK.
Yeah. So so speaking of those people that are making changes or thinking about, adopting new way of doing things. Old way of thinking was gasoline. New way of thinking is electric. And I know that you've partnered or you've worked with Lucid to help them with their latest upcoming vehicle coming out fall of this year. How is dealing with a brand new automotive industry or automotive manufacturer and it being a vehicle? What's your take on that too?
So I think Lucid was super exciting. They're a great bunch. Forward thinking. Peter Rawlinson, who heads up the company, worked with Elon Musk at Tesla developing the Model S. Mm. And then we had a gentleman that we worked with at Audi, Thomas Orens, who moved across to Lucid. So we've done a lot of very good thing, a lot of innovation at Audi. And when he went to Lucid, he thought, hey, there's no better person that can help me to create something totally new for Lucid than Zerolight. So we got involved. They came to see us at CES 2020 in Las Vegas in the January. They didn't have anything, but then by the September, we were launching the car. So in a period of 9 months, we put in a totally connected customer journey covering their studios, which is their version of a dealership, their online presence, their data tracking, and we just connected up the whole customer journey and made it very personalized. Yeah. So if you look at the three of us, we'll all have different Spotify homepages, we'll all have different Netflix homepages, we'll all have different Amazon pages. Consumers are demanding that level of personalization in the car buying process, and why not? Why shouldn't you have where every single image video that you get from a car manufacturer should be your car in your configuration. So that's really the journey that we're on with Lucid. They were very good in that they didn't have anything to start off with. So it was that open-minded first principles. So we see we're doing a lot of business and a lot of growth in the electric vehicle market because they can adopt a new technology like Zerolight, because they're also adopting new technologies across their business.
Yeah.
And I think it's super exciting to work with that sort of business.
Honestly, that is amazing because, so it sounds like a lot of brilliant minds came out of Tesla, which is the number one considered number one manufacturer of electric vehicles. And also having the Model 3 being the most sold electric vehicle in 2020. So for them to be able to grab some minds from them and then start their own little baby and have Zerolight help shape that little process. And when it comes out to be the final launch in this fall, it's kind of a little bit like that was my baby. I had my little hand in there to raise this baby from the growth to the amazing game changer it will be in the electric vehicle industry. So congratulations to you guys to be able to do that, and hopefully more doors open up much like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a brilliant night on the 9th of September where they launched the car. You know, we were sitting here watching the traffic, and you could just see those people piling in. You know, it was real time, and that was super exciting. You could see them how engaged they were playing with the vehicle, and it was one of those magical moments.
Mm. So actually, you know what? This actually reminds me. There's pros and cons to electric vehicles. The biggest thing being like anytime I've taken an Uber and I sat in the back, and the car stops moving, you just don't hear nothing. You're like, okay, is the car even on? And the guy just drives off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, what if like I'm a cyclist or I'm a pedestrian and the car just suddenly hits me? And the biggest thing to come out of that is my scream. Like, oh my God, I've been hit, but the car
hits anything. The kid, silent killer.
So actually, a law has been passed in July 2019. Now that all electric, at least in EU, that all electric vehicles must make at least a low pitch frequency that will at least alert the general public. So that way, you know, cyclists or pedestrians or Uber riders can be like, yes, I'm in a moving car right now. So
yeah, I mean, it's obviously it is sort of ironic as well that you're replacing one sort of pollution with noise pollution. Mm-hmm. But it's just a changing world, yeah, and I think that's the world we're living in. It's just a changing world, and habits adopt.
Have you, speaking of the changing world, have you thought about flying vehicles? Because one of our viewers, we were interviewing Michael Benwood, who's a Formula race car driver, and one of our viewers commented that he thinks that the future is unmanned aerial systems, which are kind of controlled by computers, which have anti-collision. So companies like Uber and Boeing and all these companies that are building flying cars, not electric cars, they will all be controlled like a bit like planes in the towers.
Is this also going to look like the Jetsons? You remember?
Like exactly,
yeah.
But apparently the first cars won't be they won't be manual, so we won't actually be able to drive them around. They'll all be kind of automatic. Can you see you guys entering that market? Because virtual reality, flying cars, it kind of goes hand in hand. You want to imagine, perceive driving in the sky before actually
flying. Like that's like flying in the sky.
You actually get into the sky. So can you see it? And also, if it does happen, do you think it'll be an airline like Tesla, an airline like Boeing, or will it be a car manufacturer like Tesla who will at their phone, Uber?
So I was very fortunate. I went to CES 2020 and I saw in the Hyundai stand the Uber flying taxi. So I actually had that on the stand. And then I also think Bell Helicopters also had a air flying taxi that was full size, which was phenomenal. So I think there's no doubt about it. It's going to come. What form it takes, I think will be interesting. I don't think you're going to be flying it yourself, that's for certain. But I also think as well, one of the interesting things I think is within a very short space of time, once that technology gets more adopted, it will be seen as being reckless. to drive a car yourself, because you're putting other road users at risk. So if you imagine if there's an automated system of traffic moving around, and then you're driving in amongst it, in the traditional way, controlling it yourself, I think there'll be a big move towards, hey, you're taking an unnecessary risk. It'll become frowned upon. So I think there's a whole evolution that's going to come. Is it going to be a major airline? Will it be a major? I think no. I tend to think it'll be a new player who comes along and just thinks about things differently. I think that's what brings, even the big players. You get to a certain size, you get very comfortable, and then somebody comes along and disrupts you.
True. So about the off child of Apple that does unmanned vehicles. So Waymo.
Waymo, yeah.
Yes. So they've already started figuring out how to push the industry a little bit forward in having driverless cars and driverless fleet vehicles on a commercial scale. This actually reminds me of a story, because you said, oh, it's reckless driving. This reminds me of a story of, there was one time a robbery that happened in somewhere in the States, probably Florida, because crazy things always happen in Florida.
Yeah, wild.
And these guys robbed a car, called for an Uber, got in the back, and then they realized, oh, it doesn't have an actual driver. It's just, one of those driverless cars. And then because the car didn't go above speed limit, they were really hoping that, they'll be able to pressure the driver to drive fast. They got caught. And they're like, oh, because the car was so safe and it didn't take us anywhere quickly, we got caught in a driverless car. So, yeah. So you're right. It is the way of the future, and the way of kind of keeping us a little bit more safe, and hopefully catch more robbers that way.
It's funny you said that we've changed different types of pollution for noise pollution, because apparently one of the main problems with these flying cars is they're going to be really loud. So they have to make sure that the volume isn't too much to them, because if you're just in your living room and then a car flies past really loud, it's just going to disrupt your meditation or your afternoon workout. So your yoga session, if you're Dammy likes a bit of yoga. Yeah. So noise pollution is something you got to think of, whereas with these electric cars, as Dammy said, they're trying to put more noise into them. So it's just finding the right amount of noise.
Exactly, the right amount. So, So, and actually now moving on to another element of your business is that you're essentially a software as a service. So you allow for hosting to happen in the cloud opposed to on location. How did you guys come into that? And you guys are partnered with Amazon AWS, is that right? To be able to help with that?
Yeah, so definitely we're known as the world's leading cloud-based visualization specialist. And the cloud's really important because the cloud gives you mobility and it gives you global scale. So what happens is you don't have to have a PC at home or a PC in a dealer. Fundamentally, as long as you have a web browser, you see exactly the same car, regardless of whether you're on mobile and desktop, in VR, as you tried earlier, in AR. It's all powered by the cloud. So we put one car model up in the cloud, and then it serves every single use case from that one model, and it's an access fee. So the car manufacturers pay a SaaS licensing fee for access to the servers and access to the cars that are on the platform.
So I imagine with that kind of business model, it's very cost efficient for people to be able to go that route. So, essentially paying you to be able to take off the one line item of expense of, equipment and property. So you guys take on that little element and you put it up in the virtual sky that has all the information.
Yeah, so it's like having a record collection. When people in the day used to have a record collection, and people were saying, "Hey, you're never going to move to Spotify, or not even the times before Spotify. Like Apple Music, not having the physical stuff." So I think people are quite used to this usage model now, where they take what they need when they need it. But the other thing about cloud is it allows the car manufacturers to take that, normally a configurator as a huge monolith stuck on their website and everybody's scared to touch it. Well, what happens with Zerolight is that configurator is now in the cloud and is mobile, so you can take it to Amazon and configure your car on Amazon. You can take it in Facebook and have it as part of your Facebook feed. So, for instance, look at the data. Know you're interested in buying a Mercedes, and then when you scroll them through, it'll offer you a Mercedes configurator, but in Facebook. You don't have to go to the Mercedes site to do it.
Oh.
And I think that's the power of the cloud. It just makes it very mobile. It's very global. And it's way easier. And we say, you know, Zerolight is better, cheaper, faster than doing it the old way.
It's true. So actually thinking about SaaS as a model, business model, I'm just gonna throw a number out there and see if you guys believe it is true or not. Is that 34 on average, businesses use about 34 SaaS apps to be able to help run their business. So something as like Teams, Microsoft, or different softwares like that. That is, is that something that happens in Zerolight too? So you guys even register yourself for access to service?
Yeah, I mean, I would say most probably 90% plus of the software that we run, that we buy in, is all SaaS software. You know, it's the way of the future.
So, speaking of the way of the future, what are the luxury, you know, the high end clients have to look forward to? So, if you're buying a Lamborghini or you're buying and the latest Audi, what can they look forward to with you guys? What could you bring that's different, that hasn't been seen before?
I think what you look forward to. Yeah, I think what you look forward to is a totally personalized journey. So what happens is, say if you go on a configurator on mercedes-benz.com and you configure a car and you leave it behind, the next time you see an advert from that car manufacturer, there'll be a video, but the car that's in the video isn't a generic Mercedes car, it's your car that you left behind in the configurator, including if you've got child seats, cycle racks, roof racks, whatever you've got there, it'll be exactly your car. Each and every communication you get from the car manufacturer, say if they've got a new accessory, they'll send it to you, but it'll be shown on your car, so it'll help to visualize it.
So integration into multiple platforms. So seamless integration to Facebook, whatever, your mobile, your website.
Yeah, I think so. If you took, say, Porsche.com and you had $1 million to spend, or you had 30 grand to spend, you would have an identical experience. And I don't think that's no longer the way that people are used to.
Yeah.
So really what it's going to do when you rock up to a car manufacturer's site, it's going to be reading the data that it has on you and begin to give you best guesses on the sort of vehicles and the sort of things that you're going to be interested in.
Yeah. So for anyone that's listening, I would like a nice red car, 2-seater that goes really fast.
Mercedes G-Wagon for me, please. Thank you.
I'm not picky. I'll take anyone else. I'm currently riding the bus right now. So.
What did you, when you were first starting, and obviously you weren't the market leaders in the world. What did you find were like some of your biggest obstacles? What would you go and do differently back at the beginning?
Well, I think as an entrepreneur, you have to have belief in what you're doing. You've got to have belief, because if you don't have belief, nobody else is going to have belief. So it's really, I think Henry Ford summed it up, and I like this quote even before we were anything to do with the automotive industry, which is, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're probably right.
Yeah.
So it's the same as when you were setting this up. There's mostly everybody said, there's lots of podcasts out there. How are you going to make a difference? Da, 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 da. There's 1,000,001 reasons why you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. But if you have that belief, you've literally got to stick with that belief. And it's all about failure, that's, and especially in the UK. In the US, failure is more embraced as a good learning experience. In the UK, it's a bit more, everybody loves somebody to fail. Really what you need to do is, a successful entrepreneur has failed multiple times. And it's all about trying something. Is it a success or is it not? Facing the fact that whether it's a success or not, and then doing something about it immediately. And it literally never, ever, ever give up. That's the thing. Because if you give up, you're out the game. You've just got to keep on. You've just got to keep on going. And no matter how much personally you're invested in one idea and how much you love it and how much it's going to change the world, if it doesn't survive contact with the customer, fine, well, you have to rethink it.
Awesome.
I was thinking that for your whole customer journey, a lot of businesses say this, and it's very important that you have to know your customer to sell to your customer. And that's the most important thing, knowing your demographic, knowing what your customers want. When you first started looking at virtual reality cars, how much research did you do into the customer? Because obviously your target is global. Did you look at the customer, or did you think, when I'm buying a car, how did you really get the idea and how to improve the whole journey?
I think we started from the point of view of the consumer, because they're pretty much an overlooked person in the car buying journey. And as I was saying earlier, the people don't enjoy the process. So I thought, well, with the knowledge that we have about engaging customers and delighting them, how can we apply that to this industry? And then obviously so you've got an idea, but then instantly you go and talk to the customer about that idea, and they'll come up with all sorts of reasons why it's not possible, it's not a good idea. And you have to take some of that on board, but you can't let the customer totally shape the direction that you're heading in. So you have to be a little bit careful. Again, it's Henry Ford. He said if you had asked the customer, they would have said they want faster horses. Mm-hmm. So you have to bear in mind that people want over the restraints of what they know. Mm. And I think, and don't get, obviously the master of this was Steve Jobs, where he created the whole ecosystem. Mm. Where people were saying, oh, people will never do this, people will never do that, but he had a vision for it, and he built a whole empire just on having that vision. And he did that not necessarily by asking the customer what they wanted, but just showing them the benefits of what he had.
And then I guess that's the learning part of what you've kind of learned from the experience. Now, what are if you can give us one or two biggest learning things that you've come to learn about yourself or for running a business as the CEO or the co-founder? What are one or two interesting things that you've kind of learned along this journey?
I think it's in life in general, but it certainly applies to an entrepreneur, is you must not dwell in the past. Most people will, good things, bad things happen in people's pasts, and you spend a lot of time in your own mind going over that and crucifying yourself. I should have done this, I should have done that, I should have done the other. So there's a very great guy called Peter Crone. He's the mind architect, and definitely people who haven't listened to him should definitely listen to him. But what he says about the past is, whatever happened, happened. It couldn't have happened any other way because it didn't.
Yeah.
And it's a really good thing. It's like people have mad business decisions. You've got to leave that behind. Don't waste your time today going to the past. I think that's key.
That's amazing. Well, thanks a lot, Darren. I really, really appreciate the insight that you've shared with us today, being able to walk us a day in the life of the most influential, or one of the most ambitious people in UK, and influential, at least in the 3D visualization market. If we were able to give you now 1 minute to speak to the people, the next generation of entrepreneurs, or or the younger, your kids that might be able to take a step in your direction, what would it be?
So I think anybody out there who's thinking about starting their own business, I would say definitely go out and do it. That's the first thing. You'll learn a lot about yourself, and you'll learn a heck of a lot about the world. I think if you're going to do it, you need to build a great team around you, and you need to build people that are smarter than you. And I think the true mark of a creative person, being an entrepreneur, is all about having creative ideas. And really, I think the personification of a creative person is when somebody comes up with a more creative idea, you're willing to drop your idea and pick their idea up because it's a better idea. You know, as a creative person, that's a better idea. So I think never give up, keep on trying, expect to fail, learn from those failures, embrace those failures, enjoy the successes as they come along. With to sort of raise money from venture capitalists, etc. Never take money off people you don't like.
Nice. Great. Thank you very much, Darren. Those are honestly very good words for us to be able to listen to, and hopefully people that are lucky enough to hear you speak, they also feel that energy and feel that love that you clearly have for entrepreneurship. So thank you very much for being able to join us with us today. How would our listeners be lucky enough to reach out to you or your company, your social media handles?
Yeah, sure. So it's at Zerolight on Twitter for the company, at Darren Jobling for myself. You know, reach out on LinkedIn, Zerolight on Instagram, or on zerolight.com. Reach out and let's get a conversation going. You always learn something.
Isn't that the truth? All right. Thank you very much, Darren. We really appreciate your time for coming in and joining us today at Different Roots Radio. So we look forward to seeing what's new.
Thank you both very much.
Yeah. All right. You bet. Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Different Roots Radio on YouTube, Twitter, and other channels. Our talks air on Monday every fortnight. One love.
Peace.